Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin today and some of the indicators around Bitcoin. We're going to be going over our favorite data points here, which are the Wyckoff trading ranges. For those of you that don't know, we're going to take you over a little primer for that. So this looks and has looked like reaccumulation after decline. We've been talking about this for the last few months, that this breakdown, which initially looked like it was going to be a spring here, turned into a spring and a reaccumulation in the middle of the box here. Now, one of the important things to remember is that, like the universe, we have these scale invariant functions. So what we're really looking for is strong indicators that we're getting a horizontal trading range and a break outside of that trading range. Now, if we look closer, we can zoom in more and more here into the previous start of this for Bitcoin. We had this beautiful horizontal range build, the first SOS backup phase, and the breakout into a new accumulation range. And right now, it appears to me as that we've seen the SOS and we're about to see the backup phase. Now, in the larger structure, which is what we were just looking at here, it is likely that this is the last point of backup before we move out quite significantly. One of the reasons that is, this is the finality of the bull market. I suspect here, if we pull a nice fib retracement between the kind of the top and the bottom of the box, we have targets all the way up towards $200,000. But our first key initiatory targets are around 150 and 200,000, kind of at a maximum extension for this particular range. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, how did we get here? First off, it's important to know about market cycles. Now, market cycles are composed of usually oversold accumulation areas and distribution, which are overbought areas. We've talked about this many times, but we haven't gone over it specifically in each of the videos. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different than we normally do in our other videos. So this is reaccumulation after decline, very similar to what I thought Bitcoin is going through, where we saw a big bust out to the top of the range and an accumulation phase. Now, remember, when you're looking at a market cycle, you're always thinking about how does this show up like a footprint in the wild. And although it's the same animal, the footprint shows up somewhat differently every time, and that's normal. We're just trying to identify the footprint and the movement of the market makers early on in the cycle, and the identification of these show us the likelihood of strength moving into the market. Now, we have our good friends over at Bitcoin Pro Magazine here as well. Also looking at the MRV score, we're barely above 2 right now and almost at $100,000. It's very likely that once we get past the 3 mark and the 4 mark for Bitcoin, this is where the $400,000 or like $200,000 range comes in. Again, we have very easy targets of 150,000, but I think upwards of the 4 to 6 point here, as we've seen consistently, the MRV score hitting in the background is very likely for Bitcoin as well. So what does that mean? When we're going into these cycles and we're looking at each of the movements of the ranges, we have to remember that there's actually a bigger cycle that we've been following all along. The horizontal trading range that we left out is about here. And now this is important to remember. This is ranges within ranges. It's called scale invariance. It's a mathematical function. It says that you can find the same range within different time frames, just in different sizes. So we had the bottom of the range, which represented the spring. We had the breakout of the range, which represented the SOS and sort of backup phases. We are now in the SOS and LPS phases for Bitcoin itself. So we have some wonderful documentation that we've gone over in the private group for intermediate accumulation and distribution cycles, and what those look like. They always show up somewhat differently. Here, I know these are hand-drawn, but this is an old document from the 1990s, one of our favorites as part of our private group data as well, called The Anatomy of a Trading Range. But as you can see, a breakout, back up into the minor LPS, and then a huge move upwards. So for the market cycle ranges, we're looking at the same thing. Here are these accumulation ranges. Once they fall in, and we're going to look at some more of these later today, but for now, we're just focusing on Bitcoin. The accumulation range that took place, the market cycle where we are in accumulation all the way back here, accumulation started all the way back in 2023. We've moved into the SOS and backup ranges, and now we are in the finality of the bull market. And as we zoom in, we can start to get, again, a bit more data at the range that we are in right now. We are in a rising gradient bottom on the 45-minute. We've just snuck our head out into the SOS range. It's very likely we're going to get a backup here, probably not that deep, and we're going to rip. I actually thought we'd come down to 88,000 and we hit 91 before taking off. So it's very likely that this particular signal here, which is the break outside of this box, represents the SOS phase, and the whole market seems to be signaling that right now. So the stepping stone process to the $150,000 and potentially $200,000 marks has already taken place. Now, I'm actually going to do separate videos today. I'm going to do 4 or 5 of them, maybe today, tomorrow. From now on, I will do individual videos for each asset. So in the next videos, we're going to go over SUI, just SUI. We're going to go over Solana, just Solana, Link, just Link, Psy, Fetch, Tau, and a few others. Individual videos from here on out, as I think they'll take me less time. It'll be easier for you guys to digest and look at the assets that you're interested in. But for now, every single asset is pointing into these signs of strength, showing reaccumulation after multiple months of distribution, and giving us really strong signals and signs. So if you like these videos, please give it some thumbs up, share them far and wide. If you haven't yet, sign up for the private newsletter and the private Discord group. I'm going to include some new availability where you can sign up maybe at a discounted rate for just the newsletter and the more expensive rate for the private membership that includes the private Discord group where we have more conversations. So keep that in mind. But I've been thinking the last little while, and I don't want to let the arcane bear just die. So I have to lean into it being a functional business across the board again. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyways, we've got a few more asset videos coming up for you guys, so stay tuned. But for now, this is Tio with the Arcane Bear, and we just took a look at Bitcoin and its road to $200,000.